Nope. Stop, stop, stop. Edit. I think we are live. I was not ready to go live. I actually just totally screwed this up, hit a wrong button, hit go. It started playing. I just screwed everything up, but it is working even though I didn't change the code I was supposed to change. I don't know, whatever, I'll take it. I think we're good. So welcome. Tonight we are going to be working in pan pastel and a little bit of colored pencil. I'm going to be doing this beautiful, I don't know if this is a sunrise or a sunset. I don't know if that's something you can really tell, but it's a crescent moon. I think waxing crescent, something like that. I don't know. It's gorgeous. We are going to be working on this. I got my reference photo from Unsplash, but you can find this if you want to download it and draw it along with me. You can find this over at my website. The link is in the video description. Also, let's see. Are we okay with audio? Yeah, audio check. Everything's good. Wow, weird. Because I screwed that up pretty bad earlier. I feel weirdly lucky right now. I hope I didn't just not glitch myself, jinx myself. That's the word I'm looking for. Okay, I am working on Canson Me10s. This is the smooth side. You've often heard me talk about when I work with pan pastels, I'll work on the rough side that has a little bit more grip to it for the pastels to stick to. I have actually found that the pan pastels stick to the smooth side just fine. And then I get smoother results. It actually makes it a little easier for me. So that is what I'm going with there. This is a gray paper. What I'm doing tonight could work on any color, anything. The pan pastels are opaque enough. They would cover any color paper you've got. But you do want something that's a little bit more grippy. Like I wouldn't go with a hot press watercolor paper, too smooth. That's not gonna give you quite enough for your pan pastels to stick to. So this one is an 8x10. This is available, the auction, if I did it right. That was one of the things I was rushing trying to fix because I screwed up the date on the auction and it wouldn't let me just change. It was a whole thing. I just relisted it. It link, if I did my job right, which apparently I'm not doing well tonight, that is linked in the video description as well. The starting bid for this is $55. Of course, you can wait. Let's see how it goes as we get going. It'll be pretty, I promise. And I think that's it. Let's see if I can cough my way through this tonight. Yay, allergies. And let's see. So we've got my pan pastels here. This is a set of, what is it, 20? And this set, I do recommend if you get these, get the little holder. It's like a palette. Actually, hold it up here so you can see it a little bit better. But it's a palette where all the little circles go into, the discs, and they just pop out. You can replace those as needed, but it's so convenient. In the set of 20, I have found to be everything I need. I have not had to replace any of these since I bought them. Like you can mix these great, just like you would with paint. They mix beautifully. I mean, if I was gonna do a huge painting and I wanted one specific color that wasn't in the set, then it would be worth going ahead and buying that color, but I've really enjoyed this set of 20. I'm going to be using soft tools to lay my colors in there. So let's go ahead and get those set up. Do I not have the oval one that I like so much? There it is. And I always recommend, and all the supplies that I'm using, by the way, are linked in the video description, but I do recommend get these, or I have it in like just a little, I don't even know what this little storage thing is, but see that I've got a lot of the little sponges in here. Get several of these because you're going to want to replace them. When they get dirty, you can kind of wipe them off depending on what color you're using. Like in this case, this is a teal color. Actually, we'll probably go ahead and use this to add the blue because why waste it if I don't have to? But these get kind of crusty over time too. They'll start to get a little bit hardened and it's just better to replace them altogether. I know I'll always get somebody that says, no, I wash mine. It's less wasteful. I mean, you're wasting water in washing it, but okay. They're not super sturdy. They do tear fairly easily. So I would just go ahead and get multiples of these. And okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I've mapped out, I don't think you can see it, I've got a line letting me know where the 8x10 is here, so that if this gets framed, or if the person who buys this, if you want to choose to upgrade to get a mat on this, it's an 8x10 mat that it'll fit into, which means it'll fit an 11x14-inch frame. Like the overall size would be that. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and you can see I've got a little bit of blue on there. It's teal, it doesn't matter, it's close enough to what I'm going for here. I do want more of an ultramarine blue, and I'm just gonna pick some of that up, and you can see as I do this, I will just let these colors mix together a bit. So I don't even really worry about those getting muddy in between. And I'm gonna go ahead and just start laying that in for the blue part up here. Now, one of the things that a lot of people have a problem with when they're doing sunsets or sunrises is making an ugly, like a muddy greenish tone when the blues meet in with the yellows. Here's the trick, or the oranges. Here's the trick. You want to put purples or magentas in between. So you have yellows and oranges, then magentas and purples, then blue. That is going to keep your sunset look or sunrise, whichever you're going with, it'll keep you from ending up with muddy green where the blue and the green meet. And realistically, if you look outside, more often than not, you get a bit of purple or pink in between your green or your blue sky and the bright oranges or yellows. So it's just a really easy way to make sure you don't end up with mud, assuming you don't want mud. And I'm just going to keep loading more of that. And I'm just mixing that white. It doesn't matter like that I get the perfect color each time, like the perfect balance of white versus blue. I'm just going to keep adding to that and layering and smoothing that out as I go. Now, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them out. I will be answering them at the end of the live stream. Load that up some more. I want to get that color saturation really nice. That's a little bit off camera. Let's see if I can smooth that up, straighten that a bit. Again, the reference photo is over at my website, link in the description. I know I got that part right. Actually, I say I know I got that part right, but it could be the wrong link. So, you know, I guess I shouldn't make promises I don't know if I can keep. Now, my mat will come to about here. So I need to make sure that my blue comes down far enough, being that I always draw this bigger than what the mat will be. That way I'm not fighting like a little bit of the white of the paper showing through. I've done that so many times on colored pencil pieces and had to go back and fill that part in. So it's a little bit out of the area, but I also want to make sure that my blue comes down far enough that I'm not just judging it by where the top of the tape is, because the top of the tape is not actually the top of the size of the piece, if that makes any sense. Let's see, Carol asked if I mix pastels with any solution. Nope, and they make a blending something for these. I've not tried it. I should order it just so I could try it, so I would at least know what I was talking about. I don't think it needs it. Like, there's not been a single time where I was working with pan pastels and thought, oh, I wish these would blend better. I wish I had a blender. Like, I just cannot see when I would want that. But I need to order some art supplies anyway, so maybe I'll throw that in the cart as well, just so I can see what the hubbub, is that a thing? That's not a thing. What all the talk, I don't think there's that much talk about it is. So I'm just adding more of this ultramarine blue right over it. And the reason that I'm going with an ultramarine blue, I want that to just be a nice transition into my purpley gray colors. Now, that's probably as far, well, let's come a little bit farther over here. That's probably far enough. Now, make sure that your streaks are side to side. And this may seem like common sense, but I've seen it done where people started making vertical lines. If I've got a streak, like right here, there's a slightly harsh line, no big deal, because it just looks like a cloud. Whenever you're doing skies, make your life easier. I don't have to have it perfectly smooth as long as the streaks are going horizontally. Okay, I'm gonna pull this little holder off. We're gonna switch this out with a new one. Hopefully I have these ones. I've got a couple more of this one left. I definitely need to place an order. It looks like I will be going to blick.com tonight. Or dickblick.com, whatever. Every time I say that, so funny story about that. I remember when I was teaching in person, I had a lady, she brought her preteens and teenage daughters used to come to my class, the whole group of them. And they would, or the mom asked where to get something, and I had told her to go to Dick Blick, and she's like, I'm sorry, Dick what? She thought I said lick and then the other word, and she was horrified that I was sending her to an adult site. Yeah, I really wish there was another name for that. So I usually say Blick, but it's actually dickblick.com will be where I go shop and where you can get that stuff. So there we go. I'm going to skip down into the oranges now, because if I used the purpley tones, the purple grays, that is going to muddy this up and I'm gonna have to change it again sooner. If I want my oranges to stay really true, it's better if I go ahead and get that in now while there's no other color on this. So I'm gonna use this bright yellow color first. And where do I want my mountains? Let's just kind of get an idea of where those are going to go. Now I will want to blend my sky lower than I blend, or lower than where the mountains are going to be. Otherwise, if I don't do that, I don't want to end up with like a weird glow. Blick.com does work as well. Okay, they own both domains. I'm just going to start saying that now so there's no more confusion when moms are like, where did you tell my daughter to go? That was smart of them. I think I looked at that at one point and I didn't find it. So, I mean, obviously I've not looked for that in years, because I wonder when they got that domain. Or maybe I'm just completely wrong and missed it, or misspelled. That could be possible too. Now I'm going to do my mountain scene a little bit different. It's a straight out in the reference photo, just a straight black area for the silhouette. I'm going to get a little fancy and go with dark purples and make it fade a little bit prettier. Now notice that I'm just going with this straight bright yellow first. Also, I do not want, right now, see how it comes here and it starts sloping down? Don't do that. Just pull that, even that out. We don't want the sky to feel like it's tilting here. Now I'm going to start pulling in the darker colors. Now notice too, I started with the lighter colors and I'm working my way into the darker ones. It's much easier than doing the reverse. So we're going to add some darker oranges. That really looks like Cheeto dust. Ah, I miss chips. Stupid healthy eating. I'm just going to let this one. Now yours does not need to be perfect. Mine sure as heck not perfect. It does not need to be exact to the reference photo to be absolutely beautiful. Something like this, you can take some artistic liberties and still have it be stunning. So don't get super stressed. This is a perfect project. If you are new to pan pastels or you just want something quick, this is such a perfect thing to get started with. Now notice here, I've got a little bit of a deeper orange here, a little bit up there. You can't really tell in the video because it's not picking that up. And why is that flickering? I don't know why that's, that's probably flickering for you guys too, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Why are you flickering? Hold on, I'm gonna try something really quick with that camera. Shouldn't be. That is, yeah, it wasn't liking that light. Is it just the strength? Yeah, huh. Let me know if you notice that Nick or Joseph, can one of you message me over on Discord if that starts to flicker again? It was something about the strength of the light. Weird, easy solution though. Anyway, moving on. What we've got here is the darker orange, and then here and here, and I've got a lighter orange there. Also, we've got a super chat. JL, thank you so much. She said, thank you, Lisa, for these wonderful art chat paintings. I love Wednesdays for this reason. Also, holy crap, dogs, did you guys just see that? All I had to say was super chat, and they just bolted. You guys aren't supposed to invite yourself. That is not how this works. Look at those bad hounds. Like you said, super chat, that means we get a treat. These two have been bugging me all day. I'm not certain how they knew it was Wednesday. Gibson's been laying in this room almost the entire day. He never does that. He's been in his bed waiting for super chats. So thank you so much, JL. Oh, I have goosebumps. That's exciting. Also, you guys are funny and so bad. You're not waiting to be invited. See, and this is why they're bad, because I'm using a high pitch. Oh, how cute, you're bad. They're like, you're not bad. You think we're adorable. There we go. Oh. Okay, take it to your bed. Go lay down. Go lay down. Don't drool on my tea that's on the floor. Go lay down. That's it. Thank you, Jael. Go, Gibson, or Wade, lay down. There you go. Good boys. Okay, yeah, I can't believe how quickly they picked up what that word means now. So Gibson, I can. Wade is a bit surprising to me. Okay, Nick didn't see the flickering. Weird. That is really odd because it was showing both on, I have no idea why that was happening. Okay. Next, I need to get into now deeper oranges. So I'm going to be mixing red, actually red, and a little bit of this. Is this one burnt sienna? What is this one? Nope. Red iron oxide. It looks like red. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Red oxide. That would be what I would use it with acrylics. So let's just mix some of that. Let's get some red in there. And I don't have to clean this. I can go, because I'm going to a darker color, I can just use what was, leave the orange that was on there where it is. So we're gonna pull a little bit in here. We wanna make sure these streaks are horizontal. This is what I was talking about before. Try to avoid, you don't want your streaks. Now, yeah, clouds can be horizontal, but a lot of times when you're doing landscapes and such, it's better if you just keep yours a little bit more straight. Some may be tilted, but overall, horizontal is the safer way to go. Keep it parallel to the top and bottom of the paper. This is something I see a lot. Water. Let's say you're painting a stream going by. The ripples in the water, the stream may curve. The ripples, you want completely horizontal. You start tilting those and it makes the viewer feel like their head needs to tilt with it. It's not creative, it's not cute, it doesn't look good. When you're doing certain things, it will look better, with very rare exceptions. There's always exceptions to everything with art, but very rare exceptions. You're just safer. It will look better. Try to keep these a little bit more horizontal. I don't want to follow the angle that the mountain has, and that's something that I see a lot, where if the mountain comes at this angle, the artist wants to make the cloud follow that angle. It's obvious what you're doing. You're naturally, it's normal to want to do that. It doesn't look good though. Try to straighten that out as much as you can. And I'm not saying take a ruler. It doesn't need to be that straight, but do straighten that out a bit. Okay, I'm gonna start pulling now and mixing into that a magenta tone. So you can just come right over here, get some of that magenta. So we get that pinkish tone. And I'll let that right along that edge as it starts pulling up. So some of the orange off my brush, the soft tool, it is mixing in with that, and it just gives you this really nice soft color. Now, if you get too much pigment right now, I want to blend with the same tool. I just have a paper towel here. I'm just wiping that off. An old rag, anything like that would work. T-shirts work great. They're the perfect texture. I'm going to pull this up just around that edge. And I'm going to pull this pink down a little bit more into that yellow and peach. So I've got this really pretty transition there. Now mine is a bit more yellow than the reference photo. I think I'm going to take a little bit of white. I'm going to wipe this brush off, and I'm going to take a little bit of, oh, hold on though, because that, first I'm going to wipe off a little bit. Okay, this is actually a good little lesson here. So I want to add a bit of white to my yellow just to get more of a cream color, but look at how much blue is in that. And it's actually overexposed. It's way worse in person. So I'm just going to take a paper towel and wipe a bit of that off so I've got a clean spot. What would have happened right there if I would have gone into that with the yellow, the orange on my brush? If I would have gone into that with the blue, I would have just made a muddy mess that would have I would have gotten green streaks in my yellow, which is exactly what I'm trying to avoid. So now I can take a little bit of white. I'm just going to lighten a bit in here. Much better. Now be careful. You can see I'm blending. I'm going back and forth quite a bit over this. Watch that. It is definitely possible to overdo that and you end up with one solid color instead of the definite light cream color into the yellows and oranges and pinks and all of it. We want the variation of all these colors together. Okay. Next, we are going to start pulling in. I've got to make this purpley gray color. Now, I actually wouldn't mind if mine was a little bit more color saturated than the reference photo, but I still need it to be a little bit grayish. So I'm going to mix my magenta and purple, and I'm going to throw in, let's see, do I want to mix this separately? Maybe not. I'm going to pull a little bit of black and a little bit of white, and that's going to give me a grayish tone. And I can blend and mix this as we go. Oh, can I move? Hold on. Move the palette a bit. What do you mean? Hold on. Move the palette a bit. The top row isn't showing on the mixed screen. Oh, yeah. There we go. It's a little bit too wide for my normal palette. I apologize, but there we go. Good request. So I'm just going to go with purples for now. Yeah, there's a little bit of black in that. I'm going to add more black and white into it to gray it up a bit in a moment here. Actually, I can just, while that is on the brush, come in here. Now, I did not bother wiping the orange off because if the orange mixes in with this, it gives me more of a grayish tone. When you mix orange and purple, you're going to get kind of a neutral, calm, grayish brown tone. That's fine for these clouds. So we've got this lighter area that comes through here. And I'm just using straight white now with what is left on my brush. Now, if any of that blue pulls into this, it doesn't matter. Blue can mix in with the purple, no problem. We just don't want it mixing in with the orange and the yellow. I'm going to go ahead and let that just give me a soft transition here between the blue, so I don't have any of the paper showing, even though I'll be pulling a bunch of purple over that. But may as well cover the paper now while we're at it. Again, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave those now. I'll be answering those, going over those at the end of the video. And at the end, we're also going to be talking about some more really bad art advice from Reddit, because that's where I apparently like to read painful advice. See how I'm being a little bit more streaky? I've got some of these angles now coming down, so I start getting that poofy cloud look. Okay, back to making it look dark. I'm just going to go with a thick purple first and then put black on top. It was a bit easier. Again, all the supplies I'm using are listed in the video description. Now, in just a moment here, I'm going to spray some, spray a bit of Spectrafix so that this will seal this layer down and it allows me to put more on top without just making product fall off the paper. So if it gets to that point where you've built up a lot and it's not sticking and it's not as vibrant as you want, putting down a workable fixative can help. I'm going to mix a bit more of that magenta and red just for this transition in here. A little bit poofy, little half circles in there. Now that's getting a little bit of black from me loading it earlier. I want to grab a new brush that will just be moving forward with the oranges. Actually, the back of this one will work fine. Violet Sky said, thank you for always answering our questions. We really appreciate and love these live streams. Oh, thank you. And they're the boys. They're like, you got a super chat. Where's our treat? You owe us. Okay, fine. You guys get another super chat treat? Yeah? This is very exciting, huh? I know, it's so good. Say thank you, Violet Sky. Good boys. Okay, go lay down. Lay down. Lay down. We may have to work on, during the week, on the laying down part. They're coming really easily for their super chat. I'm just having a hard time getting them to go lay down. Go lay down. Be good boys. Thank you so much. Way too smart. Okay, So I'm going to change, and okay, this is an example of one that was older that I tried to change. See how it ripped going on? It's just really common with these. They tear really easily. I can force this one so I can get use out of it, but that's what happens with these. Okay. So I'm going to load just some of the orange right in this transition here, just to blend that a bit. So we get that nice soft look. There we go. Let's pull a bit of red too. Now, right in between the purple, I'm just going to dab that a bit. And then lightly go over that. And a bit more with the orange as I move down. And I'm going to spray this with Spectrafix in just a moment because this is starting to, I've got so much product on the paper right now. It needs to be sealed down a bit. Okay, and then I'm going to switch back to the purple. And then I do want to get a bit of purple up here. So we've got these nice streaky looks. Now this comes at an angle. So when I was talking about you don't want things leaning down, I'm not saying never. There's obviously clouds are not always going to be perfectly straight. I mean, don't follow, when you get around the mountains, you're not trying to follow your streaks with the mountain. If you're doing a river, you're not following the ripples in the water with the edge of the water line. Now that I've got this on there too, after I spray this, I'm going to go a little bit darker even with the blue. We'll really get that color saturation in there. Okay, let me grab the Spectrafix. Where did I put that? Let's see if I put it away. Oh my gosh, I put it where it belongs. It's a Christmas miracle. I don't have the empty can to show, or not the empty can, but the container it comes in. So this is Spectrafix. Link should be in the video description. And the reason that I go with this one is it doesn't darken the work. A lot of the fixatives, when you spray it, it makes it, the pastel, the color gets really, really dark. Doesn't happen with Spectrafix. So this is in a fine mist sprayer. The bottle that it comes in, you're going to have heavier droplets that you end up, it doesn't ruin anything. Well, usually it doesn't ruin anything. It's just that when it dries, you have to blend those out if it leaves like a ring where the water droplet was, or not water droplet, but the Spectrafix droplet. With the fine mist sprayer, it's less likely to happen. So what I'm going to do is just very lightly, I'm at a distance, I don't know if you can really see, but I'm going to put a light layer on there. Now I'm going to dry that with a hairdryer, so plug your ears. Oh, somebody had asked me, I actually get this question a lot, do I wear any kind of protection when I work with the pastels? I don't work with normal pastel pencils. I would feel differently then. Those have a tendency to leave more like dry dust in the air that you would be breathing in, and that could potentially cause issues. This, with the pan pastels, there's really very little fallout. Like I'm rubbing my hand at the bottom of my easel, like almost nothing is coming off on my fingers. This is it really doesn't leave a bunch of dust in the air. So it's not something that I'm personally, as I cough, that I'm personally very concerned with. So I'm not wearing a mask with this. But if I were using normal pastel pencils, that is something that you want to research and look into, because that could be potentially dangerous for you to be breathing in. Okay. Yes, Melissa asked if I ever find the Spectrafix clogs the fine mist sprayer. A little bit. It was last week. That's why before I sprayed today, I picked at the front so there was no little crusties on it, and now it's fine. But it was starting, not last week, like 2 weeks ago, it was starting to clog a little bit. Not bad, but and if it ever clogs, all you need to do is take the top off and soak it in hot water. It'll loosen right up. Okay, so I want another one with just blue, so let's go ahead and grab another brush. Looks like I'm stuck with the angled one, which I don't love, but it'll work. Wait, do I even have? Yeah, I do have those. I'm just sliding this onto and dropping it onto the little palette knife-like guy. I just want to get this blue a bit, this saturation a bit deeper. See, now as I go over it, because I put the Spectrafix, now actually, let's back that up a little bit. The Spectrafix isn't sealing it. Like if I run my hand across this, I'm gonna have a ton of pastel on my hands. It's not sealing it so that nothing ever comes off. But what it does is keep it so that less does come off. Less is going to fall off over time. It helps it to adhere better to the paper. And as I add an additional layer, then that sticks even better because the previous layer is like sealed down. Art of Raven D said, thank you for these live streams. It's calming and informative. I want to contribute to spoiling your hounds. Thank you so, oh my gosh, you guys are so bad. Did you get another super chat? Thank you so much, Art of Raven D. Oh, super chat time. What, you think you just get to get up and come get something, huh? Is that what you, I don't know if you can, oh, you can't see his face. Can you see the bad cow's eyes? Look at him back up. I'm supposed to stand back here when I get this. What, you think you get a super chat? Okay, he gives the best, Bad Cow gives the best sad puppy eyes, the way he looks up. Okay, ow. Someone's getting a little aggressive with taking his treats. Good boys, now go lay down, 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 down. Don't give me sad puppy eyes, that's emotional manipulation, sir. Go lay down, Wade. Good boy. As a race dog, you are the slowest animal in the world. Thank you. Thank you, Art of Raven D. The boys thank you too. They think this is all kinds of fun. I can't believe how quick, like, they really know what that is. Okay, back to the project. I'm gonna darken this up. I need to get a photo for Instagram of Bad Cow doing his sad puppy eyes. I know I also promised I would get a video of Chicken eating his millet, but he does not like to eat in front of me. He's making this very difficult. He just wants to flirt with me so badly. I can't get him to eat with me. He will for Matt, not for me. So that's why that hasn't happened yet. Because I know there was a request for that, but he's being chicken. There we go. So that's a much nicer. Now in person, and I'll hold this up so you can see, my blue is more of an ultramarine blue. At least on my camera, it's coming out a little bit on the dark side. Let me show you what mine looks like. This camera always gets the color a little bit better. So it's a bit darker, a bit more ultramarine versus it looks more like a phthalo blue, almost moving closer to teal on the color wheel or green on the color wheel than what it does. It's like definitely a ultramarine blue there. Okay, and realistically, it does not matter. I'm just letting you know, so whoever bids on this, somebody does, they know what they're getting. What you're getting is prettier than what you're seeing on camera. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and go back into these purples. So I've got some magenta, some purple. Yeah, see how much better that purple, the color saturation is so much stronger now because I had sprayed that with the Spectrafix. Can you do it without? Sure. It just makes your life a little bit easier if you can use that workable fixative first. Now I'm going to be pulling a little bit of black and white on this too over the purple to gray it up just a bit once we get a bit further into this. few more purple streaks up into the blue. Not too crazy, just a hint. One of the things that I like too, if you noticed after I use the Spectrafix, I'll use a hairdryer to dry that really quick. It'll help pull the paper. If I put too much Spectrafix, it'll warp a little bit. It'll pull it back into shape, but it also will blow off any excess that was floating around that needs to be removed from the paper. Kind of a double purpose there. Okay, let's get some more of the darks. I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling in a little bit of black into that purple. Let's darken this up in here. Now, here's one thing to notice. I don't think it'll really show that well, but as I'm layering this, I'm having a bit of fall off from the black is getting here. Do not, and I cannot stress this enough, don't use your hand, and you shouldn't do this anyway, but do not, especially right now, use your hand to streak that away. You will streak it. It'll leave a mark. Just blow on it. Get that away that way, or I don't have it in here. There's this little rocket thing that you can squeeze and it blows, or a hairdryer, it'll blow that out. Blow that off. Don't use your hand. Don't use, like, a lot of times when I'm using colored pencil, I have a drafting brush somewhere. I don't know where. Obviously, I don't use it often, but you can use a drafting brush. Not on this. On this, just blow away any excess that you need to, because if you get it, that would have left a black streak in my yellow clouds. And I mean, you can go over it, you can try to lift it with the eraser, but then you have to rework. It's not worth the trouble. Just don't use your hand to wipe away those little marks. Okay. I might be speaking from experience. I'm not going to admit if I did, though. Okay, let's smooth that a bit. So I'm not pushing very hard. That's another thing to notice. At this point, if you push very hard, you'll start to remove some of the pastel instead of just smoothing out what's there. I'm going to pull a bit more blue in. So I'm just going to work back and forth. So we have that hint of blue in some of that one. I'm going to wipe this brush off on my paper towel. So I'm still using the one with the purple. And I'm going to go ahead and load that with white. I'm going to have to pull a bit of magenta into this as well. Let's grab a little bit right now. So we've got that pinkish tone. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind too, if you're trying to make colors exact, which obviously on a sky like this, it doesn't need to be, but let's say you were trying to, you're working on a portrait and you really want that skin tone exact or whatever it is you're doing, make sure that the color on your monitor is right. I am working on those oranges, and it's fun. It doesn't matter in my case because I don't care if my oranges are a bit more of a reddish tone. Those of you over on Patreon, you saw the one that I posted today. Mine have a bit more of a reddish orange tone, whereas the reference photo was more of a yellowy green, like a little bit closer to that side of the color wheel. It doesn't matter as long as you've got your values right. But if you are worried about getting the exact colors, make sure your monitor is the same, because my monitor in here versus the one that I download and edit the photos is not the same. The one in my office is much more accurate than the one I use in my reference photos here. So, and you can adjust the color usually to an extent, so you can calibrate that. But it is something to be aware of, because it was really obvious on the piece I'm working on right now. Like I said, I don't really care that mine's more orangey red. But if it was a portrait, that might look a little weird. Especially like a pet portrait would really matter. I've had that happen before where it was a corgi and mine was either too red or too orange. I forget what it was. Mine was too far one way or another because the monitor was off from the photo. It was an easy fix, but that is something you want to be aware of. And I usually find that the color balance on my phone is more accurate. So I can often put the photo on my phone and hold that kind of, look at it while I'm looking at the other monitor, and it makes it really obvious. So we're starting to get the hint of clouds in here. See what I'm doing? They're slightly curved. They're not perfectly straight lines here. I am definitely going to order that blender tonight so I can test that. If any of you have used the blender from Pastels, what did you think about it? Was it necessary? Could you pass? I mean, obviously you can pass. I've never used it and I've been perfectly happy with it, but I'm wondering now. I'm going to let a little bit of this pull down so I get some little poofs. Let's get a little bit more white in there. Again, this is one of those things where I'm taking a few artistic liberties. That does not need to be exact. I'm just taking these liberties based on, I've done a lot of skies before and I know I like how that looks. If I go ahead and pull a little bit of those clouds down into the orange. Pull that down a little bit more too. So one of the things that's interesting with this photo, usually I tell people the cloud should be in front of the moon, but in this case, these clouds are just misty. They are in front of the moon, but they're super, super misty. So as I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, I need to pull more, I'm gonna go ahead and pull a little bit more blue because I wanna make sure that it doesn't look, like right now my clouds look a little bit too opaque to me. I wanna make sure it looks like you can see the sky behind these clouds. So that's where I'm gonna go ahead and pull this blue. And this will give me more of a translucent look to the streaks in the sky. That way it makes sense that you're seeing this crescent moon through these clouds. Plus it looks really pretty. So bonus there. Okay, I want to pull a little bit of orange. Let's wipe that off. Dart frogs are singing. Don't go crazy if you pull orange in here. It can make mud very, very quickly. So I just want the hint of it, just a little. Okay. While I'm at it, let's get some more magenta in there. Really hyping up this color saturation now. Rebecca said, I've used the blender. I picked it up by mistake, but it does help with the blending of the colors. Helps to make smooth transition of the color. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to definitely have to pick that up. Okay. A little bit of magenta in here. I'm running low on quite a few pencils. Like I think I'm completely out of Derwent Lightfast white. I've got a few colors I need to buy. And Derwent Drawing White. Okay, I like that. Now we're going to start on the mountains in the background. Blow the excess off there. I am going to start with purples though. I don't want to, yay, there's a bid on the auction. Somebody's getting this. Nah, yay doesn't mean what you think. Go lay down. Good try, bad cow. Lay down. You can't just decide. Good try. Anyway, where was I going with that? So on this one, I'm going to go ahead and start with purples, and I'm going to let that fade a little bit into the background so we get a little bit of depth, more depth on those mountains than what the reference photo has. So let's start, and I'm going to mix that, let the purples and the magentas mix together. That is not dark enough at all. Let's go red and magenta and see how that sticks. There we go. So there's a mountain crest in the back. Next we'll switch over to more purples. So see how it's just really, really soft. Yeah, it's funny you say so smart about the bad cow because earlier today he went outside while it was pouring rain and he comes in wanting back in the house so he can get his treat. He refused to shake the rain off of him like a normal animal. I couldn't, I mean, I'm leaving him out there. It's like 5 minutes. I'm shaking myself trying to show him, like, shake. You're supposed to shake, because I'm an idiot and I think that would work. It didn't. I'm like, what dog doesn't just shake off the water? He wouldn't. And my nails were wet. I had just painted them, so I couldn't just towel them off myself. I needed him to shake the water off, but his brain was just like, derp, treat, derp. Why can't I come in the house right now, derp? So yeah, his new nickname lately has been the Derp King. He is such a sweet dog, but my gosh. So we get darker and darker as we move forward on this mountain. A little bit more magenta in this one. Okay, see, now I'm all excited to try the blender for these now that I've heard from one of you guys. I should have asked you guys earlier. You always give me good advice. But again, like, you don't have to have the blender. As you can see, it works fine without. But I want to try it now. Okay, I'm going to switch over to black. Actually, I'm going to switch to the pointy brush so I can get sharper edges here. You can see my mountain range, not even close to the same as the reference photo. Doesn't need to be. I mean, if somebody had a specific mountain range that was by their house, mountains that they knew, obviously then go with what that looks like. But here, I don't even know where this is, so not going to worry about it. Just make it pretty. And I'll have to do a couple of layers here to get that black really dark. Now the moon I am going to do with the colored pencil, so I'm not going to worry about that until after we get this in. And I can also use a colored pencil if I want to make these the edges of the mountain range. I don't think I do though, but you could do that to sharpen up the edges if you wanted it to be more crisp. But I think I like the softness. Why don't I just make my life easier and bring this little guy over here so I don't have to keep reaching back. So it's just loading it right here. I'm going to smooth this, and then I'm going to go ahead and spray it with Spectrafix and then go over it again so I can get it a bit darker. I'm going to make a few of these points a bit more defined though. Okay. Now I'm going to move this out of the way. So I've got this right now by my easel. I don't want this where I'm spraying the Spectrafix. I don't want Spectrafix landing on that. We don't want to seal it down there. I guess I don't need this on my phone either. Okay, now I'm going to dry that. powder all over my hands. Just wipe that off real quick so I don't leave fingerprints where I don't want them. Oh my gosh, my hands are a mess. Okay, is that dry all the way? No, I can still see some wet spots. Ow. Okay. This is where I'm getting it on my fingers from pushing down the tape. The tape is coming off. There we go. Okay. Now let's put one more coat of black. See how much darker that, well, I don't know if it shows up for as much for you guys, but because I've sealed it, I can now get this much, much darker. And again, I say seal it, but if I run my hand across it, there's going to be a ton of color that comes off. So don't feel like that means you're free to like rest your arm across it. You're not. Not that you should do that anyway on artwork. Remember, people juices are not archival. But this is now super dark. I am really happy with how this came out. This sort of thing, even if you're more advanced with your art, I love taking like a break sometimes, especially like right now I'm working on those super busy oranges. It's so nice to do something like this that's so pretty and so quick to get done. It's just like instant satisfaction. I mean, it's worth spending the time on the bigger pieces, but these little ones in between are really enjoyable. Okay. Now right now it looks like the black comes down really far. It doesn't. When this is matted, so whoever bids on this, you need to let me know. You can upgrade. You've got the thing where you can pay to get it. It's like $15 extra and I'll mat it for you. That covers my cost of the mat and the extra shipping. It's not that I'm actually trying to make a profit off the mat, but if you want me to mat that for you, I can do it. I don't know where my mat is though. I normally have it stored down here. It's just a black mat. So it would be like this, but bigger. This is the wrong size, and I don't know where my other one that I normally store down here is, but it would fit, well, you can kind of see, it would fit something like that. So when you mat it, this would fit your standard 8x10 mat, and then it'll be framed into an 11x14 like glass frame. You'll put it behind glass. But some of this about here down is going to be chopped off. That's why my black is that far down, because I have to account for the mat in this case. Okay, I now need a stencil. Let me grab that so that I can do this for the crescent moon, because why make my life more difficult and try to draw a circle on my own, which is not going to come out right. And I can just use a nice little template, assuming I can find one. I mean, I know for certain it's in here somewhere. Oh, come on, open up. Not that one. There we go. Oh, well, no, you're the small one. Where's the big one? Okay, apparently it's time for me to organize my stuff because I can't find what I'm looking for. The only thing I know for certain is that it's in this cabinet. I may have one in another location though, because I do have a couple. If I can't find it in here. Sorry, I should be more prepared. That would technically work. It's like this bright green. I don't know how I'm not just seeing it floating around here. You can't miss it. Ooh, I found pads of paper I didn't know were in here though. So, you know, it's not all bad. Where did I slide this? See, this is, I put things in between other things. Hold on, I wonder if one of my extra ones. I've got another shelf I can look through, but I am actually wondering now if I put one of my extra ones, because I've got a couple of them. Did I leave one down here? Oh, I did. Okay, one's here. I don't know where the other one is, but that'll work. Okay, colors I need. I'm going to start with polychromos white, because it blends really nicely over Pan Pastels, and I need like a reddish brown tone. Let me see what I've got over here. Whoops, I'm gonna throw pencils on the floor. Also, fun story time. Earlier, I had a handful of pencils and I was trying to stick them, I don't know if you can see, into this little jar thing. I dropped like half of them on the floor. And that instant, oh my gosh, I just broke everything. No, I don't use Prismacolor, not a problem. But that in an instant, like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be so bad. Nope, not even a little bit of a problem. Like even my drawing Chinese white didn't break. There's a specific color I'm looking for that I know is out because I had it out earlier. Oh, wait, there it is. There we go. I need an orange too. I was wrong, I'm missing one. I have every orange I own is in this pile, so it's making it really difficult to find what I'm looking for. Maybe you'll work. We'll just try these. And I'm also going to need a pencil sharpener. My gosh, I am not, oh, it's right here. But yeah, there we go. So what I was looking for was this nice little green stencil thing for the moon. And I'm going to go ahead and start by sharpening my white pencil. And I'm using my polychromos because it's going to blend a little bit more smoothly on top of the Pan Pastels than what I would get with one of my higher wax-based pencils. Wax content based. That's not coming out right. Oh, thank you, Dolphin Soul. Said Patreon is so worth it. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. No, 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 no. Go lay down. You guys can't just decide every word that when I sound happy means something. Good try. You got to learn to be more discerning about the words. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is hold this up to decide which size moon. I'm thinking this one would be good. And I'm going to scooch mine a little to the side so it's not just in the center. Yeah, that should work. There we go. And then I'm just going to fill that in this way. Be careful, do not put your hand on the paper. While I'm getting a little close, so let's go ahead and grab a piece of glassine. Let's just play it safe and put that there. Now I can rest my hand and not even worry about it. Someone over there is breathing deep. I think I inconvenienced him by not letting him determine when he got treats. Okay, I'm going to go over with a more opaque white, but I want to start with softer. And then none of these oranges are really what I want. I have one in here maybe. Oh, this one might work. Got two options over here that I'm not using on the oranges that could work for this. So I've got terracotta. Yeah, that's probably going to be a good color if it'll stick. It's not showing up very well. I'm going to need to go with a wax-based because that is, know how I just said that polychromos work better on pastels? I've got it on too thick. They're just not sticking well. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to a higher wax content pencil. Nope, that is yellow. Oh, there's a white. At least I can grab that right now. Come on. Why are you? Oh. Be smarter than your tools. Good job. Maybe. This is why it's better to put your supplies away as you're working, but I have to have all mine out right now because of that orange project. Like all the colors I need are stacked up somewhere else so I don't mix them up. Okay, let's try this again. Confirm Lisa is a flat earther. No, but I love flat earther videos because they are hilarious. Like, how do you, what? They're so funny. If you've not watched them, if you can find them, I don't think YouTube allows them to be seen anymore on searches, which is weird. Like, who cares if people want to believe that? Like, it's funny, let them, but whatever. Here we go. So that is a darker orange. I think it's a little too dark. Let's try the burnt sienna. This one is, there, that color works. So just along the edge here, I need this orange color. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just needed it to show up. And we've got this ring right around the edge of the moon. And it's not perfectly smooth. Like, it's a little fuzzy. It's behind the clouds. So I'm not trying to make this look like he's sitting in front of them. There's a little bit of an orange glow around him too, so I'm going to come back through with the pan pastels before I do the white of the moon. Now that I can see where he goes, I want to get, if you really look at that photo, there is a little bit of a glow that he is casting on the clouds. Again, remember, the clouds are technically in front, and this is a mistake I often see artists make. They'll make it so the moon is in front of the clouds. Clouds will always be in front of the moon. In this case, though, these clouds are translucent, and so it kind of gives you that weird look, but that is something that you do want to be aware of. Okay, let's see. I want to pull up, I need white. These are kind of dirty at this point. Let me see if I can clean this up enough. Yeah, that brush can work. White and orange. And maybe more orange. And I'm just going to go slightly, I can really go right over the moon. Soften that out. I'm going to use my pinky just a little bit to soften that. Because sometimes, as much as I try to keep my hands off the artwork, sometimes your pinky will blend things better than anything else. Just keep your hands clean. So he's got that slight glow around him, just a little bit. Okay. Back with the glassine, and now I can define that moon, and this guy will be done. I'm not going to sign it right now because I don't know where my mat is, unless I can suddenly find it. But wherever that mat, is that it? Nope, that's not it. Because I want to make sure that the signature is within the mat and that I don't sign it too low. So I really have no idea where I put mine. So now let's use a white pencil. Actually, this one isn't even white, is it? It's rubbed off. I can't see. Let's switch over to Derwent Light Fast White. There we go. I'm pushing a little bit harder so that that really shows up. Now let's say I really could not get this bright enough, like color was just not sticking. I would put another coat of Spectrafix over it, and that will probably fix it. Could also use Touch Up Texture Titanium White Mixture would be another archival option. Just checking, making sure this Discord wasn't for me. No, it's just Discord doing something weird. Oh, no it isn't. Nick said this is very close to the phase of the moon tonight. We can't see the moon here right now because of the rain. There's a very good chance I am going to, when I can get my face up closer to this, go ahead and make little adjustments. After I've not been staring at it for an hour. Where did my stencil go? Did I already lose? Oh, it's right in front of me. I want to clean up that edge a bit. This way I can push pretty hard with that pencil and make it really smooth. Just on that outer edge. Now I'm going to take the orange again. Look how nice that shows up now over the white. I love this type of work. It has that like almost fantasy feel to it. Anything with a crescent moon, I jump to that conclusion. Okay, I think we're good. Actually, I take it back. I want a little bit more orange. Actually, I'm just going to use my finger for that and just smudge a little orange around this because I can go softer than what I can get with a soft tool just for that. A little bit of a glow. There we go. Okay, and let me pull this in front. Actually, let me clean my hands off so I don't leave fingerprints where they're not supposed to be. Again, if you have questions, you can leave those now. I'll be going through those in just a moment here. I have pan pastel all over my fingers. So let me pull this. So I will spray this, I'll sign it, and then I'll spray it one more time with Spectrafix. I think I'm gonna go over the moon a little bit more with the white so that that shows up. But that way you can see the color a lot better, what you're actually bidding on. So that is over at my website. Link is in the video description. I like this guy. I love that sunset look. They're so fun to do, and they always come out so pretty. Add a second moon, that's not a bad idea. If it was for me, I might, but someone's already bid on it, so I'm going to leave that as it is. Again, if you want to bid on this, link is in the video description. And I need to pull up my website really quick. Normally I email myself the comments or whatever it is that we're chatting about. So let me go ahead and sign into my site. Of course, I'm not logged in. And we're going to sit here, look at each other awkwardly. Posts. That is the one. Oh, I can't read that from here. Let me see if I can. See, yeah, there we go. Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to bring up, bad art advice from Reddit. Keep in mind with Reddit, you're not getting advice from professional artists almost ever. Most of who's using Reddit in most of the art, there may be exceptions, I just haven't found them yet, but most of what I'm seeing on Reddit are teenagers giving each other advice, or early 20s, late teens, and then full on like mid-teens, teenagers. I'm glad that they're involved in art. I'm glad for that. So I'm not bashing that. I'm just saying they're also probably not the people I'm going to take art advice from any more than I would take relationship advice from a teenager. So, and again, it's awesome that they're involved in this, but keep that in mind. I see a lot of people posting thinking they're going to get legitimate feedback, and the feedback you usually get in these are just painful. So there was one kid, he posted a painting that he had done, I'm assuming it's a kid, of a Gundam. Yes, I know what Gundams are. Matt has like 80 of them stored in my garage right now that he keeps buying but never builds. So they're like, for those of you who don't know what that is, it's kind of like this little robot guy, I guess is the easiest way. I'm making Gundam fans mad. But that is what they are, little robot man. So this guy does a painting, and you can tell he's a beginner, but I could also tell he's going to be amazing. Now, I'm not showing you his artwork because he didn't ask me to critique his work, and that's not what this is about. But I can tell just by looking at it, he will be good. His perspective was good, like a lot of good there. But he had a very specific question. What can I do to make my subject matter stand out more? Like from the background, it just feels like my edges aren't harsh enough, like how they really should be for the robot, the sharp edges. And what the advice people gave him, like looking at it real quickly, the only thing that I would say, hype up your contrast, make your darks darker. Everything was like white. It was just too pale, too light, but the shadows were where they should be, just not dark enough. So that would be my main advice there. So, I mean, he's got a ways to go to get better, but that would be the main advice that would answer the problem he was having. But here's the advice Reddit users came up with. Now, the reason that I'm bringing this up is I want you to consider this. When you post, whether it be Reddit or Facebook or whatever, asking for advice, be cautious of who you're taking advice from, because some of this advice can actually make things worse for you. This person I've ruined too many paintings trying to change or perfect them when I should have just left them alone. No, you didn't. If it wasn't finished, you can't ruin it. Like, there's nothing to ruin. There's no point when you're painting something. If you feel like I want to make it better, but I'm afraid to mess it up, who cares? It's not done. It is not finished. You can't mess it up. And especially in the case like this was an acrylic painting, you layer on top of layer on top of layer. And a lot of people get into this, well, I don't want to go further. I don't want to push my skill level. I don't want to push the technique because I'm so afraid of messing it up. I don't want to make it worse. But it's not done. So you're just going to leave it unfinished so you don't maybe make it worse. What is the point of that? So you're going to have an unfinished painting. You're not going to hang it on your wall. It wasn't done. You weren't totally happy with it. If the thought even crossed your mind of, I feel like I can keep working. Is this just the question, or am I making sure I'm, why are you not loading? I don't know why you're not loading. Oh, there it is. Okay, we're good. But if you looked at your artwork and you thought, I really want it, excuse me, I really want it to look better, but I'm afraid to mess it up, do it. Even if you mess it up, you're at least learning. When you stop before it's done because you're afraid to mess it up, you are not progressing. You're not learning. There's nothing to be learned from that. It's just an unfinished piece that you're afraid to push forward. Imagine playing an instrument. Like I learned the first movement, but I don't want to learn the second movement because it won't sound as good as the first movement. What? Learn the whole song. Like, yeah, parts are going to sound bad as you're learning. Same thing with painting. Parts are going to sound bad as or look bad as you're learning, and that is okay. Get out there and make some ugly paintings. Don't be so afraid of messing something up that you won't push forward, that you won't push harder on something. So that was one thing that bothered me, and I hear this a lot. It's not just this person. This is something I hear so often. Oh, it was so good and then I messed it up. No, you didn't, because it wasn't good in the first place. And let's be realistic. When we're beginners, and this is important, when you are a beginner, your artwork is not good. Don't worry about it. None of us are as good as a beginner. That doesn't mean you won't be good. And like in the case of this kid that drew the Gundam or painted the Gundam, it's not good, but I can tell he's going to be good if he keeps up with it. Absolutely. But we're so worried about messing up our beginner paintings. They're not good anyway. We're learning. Get out there, paint those ugly paintings. Don't listen to people going, oh, you might mess it up. Don't push forward. What? Why? Don't try harder because you might mess up? That makes no sense. So that is one bit of advice I hear a lot from, like that one. I wish I would have just left it alone because she was advising, oh, don't push. You might mess that up. Next one, and it started out so good. Harder edges and more contrast in your values. Good advice. But he didn't stop there. A black outline to help you define edges can help too. Yes, if you're drawing cartoons. This was not a cartoon. This was a live set, like he used a Gundam, he used a model, it wasn't a cartoon. Don't add black lines. And that's another thing, like if you're having a hard time defining your artwork, if your edges are just like, my moon isn't standing out enough, don't take a black marker or a black line and outline it. That's not going to, you just made it a cartoon. It could, if you're going for a stylized look, that's fine. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about when you're doing realism, which is what this person was doing, even though it was a Gundam, a robot, but whatever. It was alive. I mean, technically at that point, it's kind of a still life, but a black outline would not, all it's doing, yeah, it separates it, but it doesn't solve his problem at all. It just made it different. You created a new problem. So that one, I don't have a lot to say about that other than black outlines are what, if your subject, you drew a tiger and it just blends in too much with the background, you need to work on the contrast between the tiger and the background, not put a dark outline around it. Not going to solve your problem. This one was one of my favorites. Actually, I think it's perfect the way it is. I know it may not be what you want, but I see a lot of really good art on this page and people are trying to improve. I get that's the point of this subreddit, or sub, because it was art advice. But I really wish more people would just chill and embrace their art for what it naturally is. The actual heck are you talking about? This person is advising you, just be happy with where you're at now. Don't try to improve yourself. Like, it kind of sums up our culture at this point. But this idea of art, it's where your art is naturally. Your art is not naturally anything. Your art is just where you currently are skill level. That idea of this is as good as it's going to get. And I talk about this all the time with art. I don't know what it is about art, but people have this thing of like, you're just born with a certain amount of skill, a certain level, skill level, and that's just where you stay. It is the only profession or hobby, you could even, if it's just a hobby for you, that's fine too, but it is the only profession where people do that. Can you imagine a doctor? You're really bad at suturing, but I want you to embrace your natural suturing skills. What? No one would say that. They'd be like, freaking go learn how to suture better. You're screwing that up. Everyone scars that you've sutured so far, and those shouldn't have scarred. Mechanic, you're not very good. I mean, every time I bring a card to you, it comes back to me worse, but I'm glad that you're embracing your natural skill. No, you go and learn to be a mechanic. And it is the same thing with art, this idea of just be happy with where you are in your art. This kid wanted to improve. He's looking to improve, and I think he will. I mean, given his perspective was amazing on this for his skill level in painting. Like, I really think that kid was going to go far. I wish I could show you the art, but again, he didn't ask me. So, well, I mean, I guess in Reddit, but he didn't ask to be in a video. But that idea of just embrace what your art is, just be happy with where it's at. I'm not saying you shouldn't be proud of every single thing you do. You should. The fact that you just made something that didn't exist is something to be proud of. But don't stay there. Don't limit yourself. If you wanted to get better, if you saw somebody else's art and you thought, I wish mine looked like that. I wish I could be that good someday. You can. You absolutely can. You just don't take advice from Reddit telling you just embrace it for what you naturally are. Art, there's nothing about your skill level that's natural. That's not a thing. We all start creating crap, and then we learn to create better crap, and then better crap, and then, wow, it's not really crap anymore. It's just kind of good. And then you get really good. There's a progression there. That's normal. It's not something to feel bad about that you start with it being bad. But I think you need to be realistic that that is where we all start. And going back to what the one person was so worried about, I wouldn't want you to mess it up. You can't mess it up because it's not good right now. Could it be good? Yes. I mean, to me, it looked like he had basically an underpainting that needed to be finished, which is very common. Most people call it finished too soon. It's not that the work is bad, it's just not finished. And that was certainly the case here. But you've got this advice from Reddit. Oh, and I see this online. I see it online in reef keeping groups. Dear God, you want some bad advice? Join a reef keeping group on Facebook. But I mean, Facebook's like land of bad advice. But so be careful who you're taking advice from. If you can, go look up that artist's work. That is always a bit eye-opening because some people, the people who are taking the time to give the most advice are usually those who have never taken the time to perfect their own work, that are so determined you need to do it their way and that are just very forceful. They come across sounding like an authority on the matter, so you may think, oh, well, maybe I should take that advice. They sound like they know what they're talking about. Go look at their work. Is it what you want your work to look like? If not, ignore them. I mean, I'm not saying tell them off or be mean or anything, but just not, maybe listen to them about embracing your natural talent, because that's not how that works. So that is my advice for advice. And one last thing, professional artists not giving advice on Reddit. They're just not. I mean, you may have people who call themselves professional, but you go and look at your work and you're like, whoa. I mean, I know your goal is professional, but it's not. Professional artists are typically too busy creating their own work to be going onto forums and offering advice. I know I don't have time for it. Jason Morgan doesn't have time for it. You know, they're not going to Reddit and just offering strangers advice. Yeah, if somebody asks us directly or within our own art groups, I mean, I've got ours on Facebook and MeWe, but the expectation that you're going to find good advice from these locations, unless it's somebody's specific group. Again, like we've got our art group where a lot of us are giving each other advice. That's one thing. But these strangers on the internet, it's not that helpful. So there you go. That is my advice there. So now we'll go ahead and go over your questions. You can send more of those in if you want. And let's see, the bid on this guy right now, if you are interested in owning this, is at $85. So that's a good price for this. Let's see, let me pull up Discord. Actually, while I pull this up, let's have a quick message from the boys. Without treats, these puppies are so sad. Your Patreon pledge of only $4 or more gives them cookies of happiness. Act now and the bad cow gets a treat too. Oh, and you also get over 300 art lessons and a new one every single week, plus other rewards. Sign up at patreon.com/Lachri. Good boys for your commercials. You guys do a good job for me. Now. You get rewarded later. All of a sudden they pop up like, oh, you spoke to me. Do we get something now? No. Okay. So why do I have a Roomba pulled up? I'm not running Roomba. I'm looking for Discord. Apparently, I don't know how to push buttons. Where did it go? Okay, first question said from Art of Rative Indeed said, I had people mortified with Blick's name too. Included a mail carrier that delivered my Dick Blick box years ago. Oh my gosh. Well, in your case, there may have been reason because I know you. I know what you. Violet Sky, excuse me. Violet Sky said, "What are your thoughts about selling art on Etsy? Thanks." Etsy. So Etsy is. I actually like eBay better than Etsy. The problem with that I had, and now I have not tried selling on Etsy in years, but the only way I found people do really well with Etsy is if they build a following outside of Etsy, so on Facebook, on Instagram, on MeWe, and send people to their Etsy shop. In which case, it'd be better if you had your own website, but okay. Those people do well, like Warren Keys, Jenna, Warren Keys Emporium. I get my keys. They're like the Harry Potter looking keys. They're not actually Harry Potter, but like the keys you saw, the flying keys there. She sells that. She like saves up a month worth or 2 months worth of keys that she makes, and then she lists them all in one day, and they are sold out within 20 minutes. I mean, they go quick because we're all over there watching her on Instagram going, when's the next sale? When are they coming up again? And she has great prices, so it's just tons of fun. But those are the people who do well on Etsy. What happens with Etsy, let's say you put a listing up today. Someone else puts up, let's say you did an Italian Greyhound painting, you put that up. Somebody else does an Italian Greyhound painting. Theirs is now on top of yours. Somebody else puts one. Theirs is on top of yours too. Yours just keeps getting pushed further and further down the list. Whereas eBay, whichever auction ends the soonest is at the top of the list. Now there's different ways, which was listed first. You can change your filter for what comes up first, but that's your standard default. So I find that it's easier to be found on eBay than Etsy. And Etsy is just notorious for copyrighted material and a lot of cheap made in China crap, like mass produced made in China crap, even though Etsy is supposed to be handmade stuff. So half the stuff, more than half the stuff, most of the stuff on Etsy is it's that mass-produced stuff. It's violating their own terms of service, but Etsy's over here going, we're cashing in on that. We don't care. We're not taking it down. Etsy's just notorious. Like I don't like Etsy as a platform. I don't like the company. I don't like a lot of the choices that they've made for the creators. It's not my favorite platform. The only people I know of that did really well were making that money and by sending their own followers, their own fan base over to Etsy. So that's been my experience. There are always going to be outliers to that. There will always be, I now on the flip side, I shop on Etsy. I just ordered, I like to get these cute little yard stakes like for in my plants and stuff. And they're made, this guy welds them out of silverware or like an old screwdriver turned it into a, what was that one? What was it supposed to be? A dragonfly, I think, or I don't know, some kind of a bug. And it was hilarious. Like his eyes are these screws, super cute. I have found stuff on Etsy. So, obviously, and I'm not a follower of those people, but I have found things that like different handmade signs and stuff. I found some cool stuff on Etsy. So I know that there are people who find stuff to buy there that aren't like, again, I don't follow those people. I just found them through Etsy. But more like when I was selling, I had an easier time selling through people who didn't know who I was on eBay than I ever did on Etsy. So that was very, if I wanted to sell on Etsy, I would have to continuously make a new listing so I could be bumped back up to the top. So it gets very expensive to keep doing that so that you're back at the top of the search. If it's something that has multiple, let's say beaded bracelet, that's gonna be something that there's a lot of competition for, a lot of cheap mass-produced stuff out of China. Not the handmade. They say it's handmade. It's not. It's all the same thing. You can Google search the image. It's the same stuff over on wish.com and all of that. But I'm not a huge fan of the Etsy as a platform, as a seller myself, but having your own website's good. Building your own following, and anything, even with eBay, building your own following that you can send to wherever you've got your art located, that's going to be your best bet no matter what. But I would say it doesn't hurt to list on Etsy and see how it does. It depends on how much competition there is and how much demand there is. It's like a whole balancing act for the specific thing that you're selling, but it can get really expensive making new listings to bump yourself back up on that search engine. And then Etsy's fees that they take out, like if somebody found your, and I don't think that there's a way, I know this is how it was. This was a couple of years ago, so they could have changed this. But I know a while back, they went through and they would do an advertisement. And if somebody came to your web, like let's say they advertised for your painting, it came up on an ad on Facebook. You're like, oh, that's awesome. More people are going to see it. Yeah, but if somebody clicked on that, eBay took a higher listing fee from you if they bought it because of, like, if they followed a link. Like, it got really shady, some of the stuff that had gone on with that. I don't even remember all the details now because it's been so long. But it was really shady what they were doing, and they weren't allowing artists. Maybe they changed this because there was a lot of complaints. They weren't allowing artists to opt out. So people could just get a huge discount without your approval. Like, you just got paid less because Etsy decided so. So there was some, Etsy has done some seriously shady things to its own user base. So I don't know, they're not my favorite place. There are other handmade websites now. I've not tried them. I don't know how well they're doing. I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but new ones that are really supposed to be just handmade stuff are coming up. So that may be something worth looking into, but I don't know how popular they are, how much they work. I just wouldn't I wouldn't dump a ton of money making a bunch of listings on Etsy because that platform is just, unless you're sending people there to your listings, it's not super, you don't get that many sales usually. Kitty Cat said, hey Lisa, my friend and I found you via your surreal art, which we fell in love with. I was wondering if you could mix in some surreal pieces more often between these other pieces. You know, it's funny you say that. I'm actually planning, so I've got to do and I love hearing that you like the surreal stuff, but I'm finishing these oranges, which are just normal photorealism. And then I'm doing a watercolor versus Inktense project. And I don't know, maybe before that, I'm doing a surreal landscape, like just a normal YouTube video surreal landscape. The problem with surrealism for anything, or the problem with the live streams in general, is that I've got to be able to get the artwork done in about an hour and a half max. And so it does make it a little bit more limiting on what the project is. It has to be a more basic design in order to get that done. But I do have some surreal work coming up very, very soon that I'm planning, the surreal landscape. I'm super excited about. It's probably going to be a bigger one, so soon for that, but probably not on a live stream. I don't know, maybe. I'll have to think about what I can do as far as, I guess it is possible to do something surreal. I'll have to think about that. I have to come up with an idea. Tammy Hughes said, hi Lisa, I see now they make water-soluble oil paints. Have you tried them? And if so, what are your thoughts? See, they've made those for 20 years, more than that. I mean, they've been water-soluble oil paints have been around for a very long time. And it's funny, I always get hate for this because I hate them. I don't like them. I don't like the texture. I don't like the way they blend. I don't like them. The only way I get them to work is to still use them with my liquid or whatever linseed oil, whatever mixing medium I'm already using. I'm just not a fan of them. But there are other artists who use them and love them and get stunning results. So obviously it's not that they're a bad medium. I just prefer real oils to the water soluble. The other thing is a lot of people were going on and on about how much less toxic it was, and that wasn't really necessarily true. Some of the colors might be, not all of them. Yeah, you can wash the brushes with a different, you don't have to use necessarily a solvent to do that, but you could do the same thing with oils, with normal oils. You could use something other than a salt, like a normal solvent or normal paint thinner to clean the brushes. So you've got a lot of different options as far as keeping regular oils less toxic. So this attitude of, oh, it's water soluble, therefore it's less toxic. What? No, that's not really how that works. I mean, even acrylics can be toxic, and those are water-based. So, I mean, they've been around forever. A lot of artists do absolutely love them, and I'm just not one of them. But that doesn't mean you can't create amazing work with them, because I have seen amazing work created with them. It's just, I like my normal oils. Plus, that when I used water-soluble oils, I got I just didn't like them. So I just started using them and mixing them with my regular oils and painting them down that way until I ran out, because I couldn't afford to waste materials back then. But yeah. Okay. Let's see. Monica said, hi Lisa, can you please show us your camera setup sometime? I love how you have one camera facing directly downward over your painting, and you have the other 3 cameras showing the palette in other areas. Yeah, I definitely, I think you can see this camera setup if you go to Instagram. I think I've got some reels where I showed my setup not that long ago. So you could just go look right now. But it's actually not even looking down. The easel, the palette, oops, that's the wrong thing, not the palette. The easel, this is a normal easel. It's upright, whereas yeah, it's kind of, this is facing down, but this one is upright at a normal easel. So, but you can see that whole setup if you head over and check out that reel over on Instagram. I'm pretty sure that's still up. It was probably a month or two ago that I posted that one, but I don't post that often, so it shouldn't take you too long to scroll through. Let's see. IR said, is there a reason you didn't go for the Luxe Archival since this is mostly the Pan Pastel? I didn't even think about it, in all honesty. It would have worked too. It absolutely would have worked well, and I have plenty of it, and I'm not, so no, there is no reason other than I've gotten so used to using the Canson Inktense for these that is just where my brain went. But no, Luxe Archival would have been amazing for this too, and then the more of the pastel would have stuck easier, so that probably would have made my life easy. It would have been easier. I should have. I'm gonna have to do that soon. Thank you for reminding me. Violet Sky said, how are the frogs? How many do you have now? It's the same amount. I haven't gotten any more or less. I've got 3 Santa Isabel dart frogs, 3 Lucamella, the bumblebee dart frogs, Glitch, and the baby derp, her buddy, my 2 special needs red-eye tree frogs, and 1 vivarium, and then the other vivarium has Cookie, or Captain Cookie, my albino, Murky, my normal big green female, my big green, gosh, she's huge, and then Purple Frog, the little purple one. But it's, yeah, same as it's always been. Frogs live a long time if they're healthy, as long as they don't get parasites. So they're, yeah, they're same frogs. Let's see. Brittany said, why do you use the Derwent Lightfast colored pencils over the Caran d'Ache Luminance colored pencils in some of your artworks? So the color that there's several reasons that I choose one pencil over another. Do I want finer detail? I want a pencil that's going to sharpen to a finer point and be a harder lead, so it'll hold that point longer. That is going to be my polychromos. If I want a pencil that's going to blend a super, super smooth background, I want a higher wax-based content. And that is going to either be normally my Caran d'Ache Luminance or the Derwent Drawing or Derwent Lightfast. Now, Derwent Lightfast kind of confused that because they listed them as being oil-based, but in practice, they have a higher wax-based content than like the polychromos. They're a real nice balance of wax and oil. I mean, all the pencils are a combination of wax and oil and clay and some other stuff. But when we talk about something being wax or oil-based, it's how much oil versus how much wax. It's more of an in practice thing, not a scientific way of wording it. But the Derwent Lightfast blend smoother. I find that they love OMS. And when I blend that out, it doesn't take a lot of work to get a ton of color saturation on the paper so that the OMS has a lot to work with. Now, another reason that I'll choose a color is simply based on the color. One brand may have colors that the other brand just doesn't have. And Derwent Lightfast, for example, purples, magentas, they are hands down better than anyone with their purples and magentas that are as far as Lightfast colors go. Whereas Caran d'Ache Luminance, they've had a bunch of oranges that I really like. So I was using on the oranges I'm currently working with, the super detailed. I've got more, I know this because I had to write them all out today for Patreon. I'm using way more of my Caran d'Ache Luminance than I am any of my others. And that is simply because they had more colors that I want, like the specific color that I wanted came in that brand. So those are the reasons why I choose one over another. They're both amazing, excellent pencils, but I do find that my main thing that I love so much about, besides the purples obviously, but that I like so much about the Derwent Lightfast is that they just blend so smooth. I can be so sloppy and so lazy the way that I lay the colors, and it will come out perfectly smooth. So when I want that bokeh out of focus background, anything like that, that is why you'll often see me reach for those first. Let's see. Melissa said, is she talking about the transparent pan pastel blender or a new tool? Yeah, the transparent blender. Monica, no, so I can't talk or read. Mona Lisa said, can you please tell us what printer you use or recommend one that prints accurate colors to match the original photo and doesn't give you any problems? Yeah, I don't have one of those. I have this cheap, like $50 or $60, I don't remember what it was, whatever was cheap at Best Buy. I don't print my reference photos. I don't print prints. I have all of that done through a printing site, or my reference photos are on a computer and a monitor, so I don't have to print anything because ink is expensive. I just don't print enough that I find it just to be worth having them printed through a professional, so I know it's done well. If it gets messed up, they're the ones replacing it, not me, because my printer jammed again. I don't have a good relationship with home printers at all. And I know some artists do and they print their own stuff, and that's awesome. Yeah, I'm not messing with any of that. So I don't have any advice for you there. Oh, hold on one second. Sarah Makes Art said there are online simulations of what living on a flat Earth would be like. It's nothing like what most people would expect. Oh, I need to look those up. I don't know why that is so entertaining to me. Like, I don't know if it's just the how do you? I'm gonna get hate from the flat earthers, but like, why would you think that? So I don't know. Listening to them justify why and how and do their little tests proving that the Earth is flat, they are. If you want a good laugh, I'm telling you, go see if you can find those videos because they're amazing. That like mental gymnastics it would take to, whew, it's good. So I'll have to look that up, Sarah. Snow said, how do you store away your pastel artworks? So I put a piece of glassine over it, and then I have just an archival box, so it's acid free, that I lay everything flat in. And they're basically just stacked on top of each other with a piece of glassine in between each of them. The reason I go with the glassine is it's not going to smudge, but it also is acid free, so the work is safe. Have I tried pastel pencils? I remember you didn't like the feel of charcoal, but the charcoal pencils gave you a solution. Not sure, but maybe pastel pencils could help the same way. No, I've tried them. Can't do it. It just freaked me out. The last time I did it, I was working with a Smart Art box that came with it. I got through it, but it's like one of those things, like the heebie-jeebies going up my arm the whole time, like it weirds me out. There is a mental block, and I used to use them as a kid. I don't know why, as an adult, it's just, I absolutely cannot handle and they're a beautiful medium, and also though, they are messier than what I would enjoy working with, so it's not even like I want to force myself to get used to them, because people are like, you should wear gloves. I'm not wearing gloves. Like, that is so uncomfortable. I do not like wearing gloves. The only time I wear gloves is when I like have to work with one of my red-eye tree frogs where you don't want your skin touching theirs. It's not safe for them. But that's about it. Like, I hate the feel of gloves just as much as pastels. So that did not solve the problem. But yeah, no, not for me. Well, I'll leave that to Jason Morgan for teaching those. Nancy said, have you tried Liquitex inks and fluid paint? I've used the inks for glazing and got some interesting results. I have one here they sent me years ago, and I haven't even used it, and it's such a pretty, I think that one was a magenta or a green color, but no. So I own them, but I have not really taken the time to play with them because I have no good reason. Let's see. And just as a reminder, we've got still almost 20 minutes, so if you've got questions, go ahead and send those in. Sheila said, you spoke about a palette knife painting I always wanted to try, but I need some guidance. Just wondering if you'd be able to do that one night. Yes, I definitely want to do a palette knife painting. I want to do, one of my favorite palette knife painting type or subjects is Van Gogh's Almond Branches. Or almond branch. I love that. It's an easy way to get started with palette knife painting, and it always comes out pretty. It's limited color palettes. You're not making as big of a mess. So that's probably what the project will be. Yes, I definitely will have a lesson with that soon. I should buy some more palette knives. I like the plastic ones if I do, which I probably would, if I do it in acrylics, I like plastic palette knives better. If I'm working with oils, I like metal palette knives better. I just like the way it works with the paint. I don't know. I don't have a good reason other than that. So I need to order some. Angela said, if someone was starting to paint, coming from a different medium like colored pencil, would you recommend oil or acrylic paints to start with? Ooh, are you looking for which is easier? Because oils, hands down, easier than acrylics, like without a doubt. The only thing that can be challenging with oils, excuse me, is that there's a dry time. So you have to get to the point where you understand, okay, I need to stop and let this dry right now before I move on to the next layer. Whereas acrylics, you can kind of move through faster. So if you don't like to get to a point where you're like, okay, this needs to dry overnight. I use a fast dry medium liquid with my oils, so it dries overnight and I paint in thin layers, so overnight before I'm ready for my next layer. That's the one problem that people have with oils, is just overworking an area where they just keep blending and trying to add wet paint on top of wet paint on top of wet paint, and they just create a muddy mess. Whereas if they would have just let that stage dry and then come on the next day, it would have solved that problem. But oils I find to be much, much easier to teach someone new than acrylics. that doesn't mean that acrylics are out for you either, though. It really completely depends on you. If you like easier blending, softer blending, that wet into wet look, oils, so much easier. Now, you do have to be more careful with oils. Like if you have birds, I would not use oil paints in the room with a bird because of the paint fumes. I don't worry about it for myself, as I'm over here coughing from my allergies. The oils have never actually bothered me, and I'm prone to headaches, like anything. Now, I'm not saying that's you, that's just me. I don't have a, like, if it's not been a problem for me, you more likely than not, most people are gonna be okay with it. It's always a good idea to open a window and air, you know, so the air is coming in. But like one of the main things that's super toxic is the OMS, and I keep a lid on that. I don't leave it open, I don't paint with it. I just use it to clean my brushes. So that's not as, you know, the being a bit more toxic in that, but there are mediums you could use that are less toxic if that's a concern to you. Again, there are way more toxic things in my life than the oils that I use, so I don't personally worry that much about that, but those are things to just factor in, where acrylics, you don't have as many, like the fumes aren't there as strong, especially if you're not using like cadmium colors. Some of the cadmiums smell bad, and those can have some toxic, like, let me back that up. I have a video, actually, let me just throw this out there. I have a video, oils versus acrylics, that answer a lot of questions you could possibly have. Much better than the information I'm throwing out at you right now. So that may be the best way to go. Find that video. Just look up Lachri and oil versus acrylic paint. But acrylics, like a lot of people think, well, they're water-based, therefore they are not going to be toxic. And that's not necessarily true either. It just depends on the pigment in each paint. With oils, some of the you can avoid the toxic ones just based on which colors you choose. So you've got give and take on both of those. But I think if you can find that video, that will help a lot. Let's see. So Janet said, do you like pastel sticks or pencils more? Neither. I hate them both. I won't work with either because it freaks me out when it touches my skin. So I'm not the person to ask for that. I don't like pastel. Like, I don't like, wait, I take that back. I love how they look. I don't like working with pastels. Way too messy, way too dry. It freaks me out when it gets on my hands because I have issues. Ira said, have you considered doing a tutorial of the stretcher bars and stretching your paper? Would be very interesting to see. I definitely need to do that. Absolutely need to make a video on that. Alice said, would you draw a vampire crab for the next video? That I don't think, because I'd have to find the right photo that I legally can use, but that might be a little complicated for a live stream. I'm not sure if that's in my future or not. They're cute, but I think it would weird too many people out. They look a little too almost spiderish. I think, but not even like a cute fluffy spider. I think I would get way too many complaints for that in all honesty. What is the difference between liquid original and liquid, didn't come in, but I'm pretty sure you're asking about the fine detail. So the liquid fine detail is really, really thin, like water thin. So for fine detail, that is going to be a better way to go. Liquid original is much, much thicker. However, my liquid, actually, let me show you. I can pull them both up and you can see in the bottle. Stay. Okay, let's pull, actually, you can probably see this way. So can you see how this is like super thin? This is the liquid fine detail. Really, really thin. This was, I don't know if you can even see it through it. Liquid original, it doesn't move that much. Like it's gloopy, gloopy, those aren't words, I'm making things up, but it's much, much thicker. Now, that said, I have not used my liquid fine detail. I have to put in like a little cup. I usually use a condiment tray lid or condiment cup lid to put it in, because if you put it on a flat palette, it just runs over everything. Problem is, I can't get it open. Perfectly good liquid in here that I have not been able to get this lid off in years. Like, I don't know, maybe I'll Google something. And I don't want to use heat because it's flammable. Like, because that's one of the things you can do on some things to get things open, but I cannot get that open. And so the point of me bringing that up, because I know that's a personal problem at this point, but the point of me bringing that up is I haven't needed it. Like, your liquid original will do everything you need to do. And if you wanted to thin this out a little bit more, you could add a tiny bit of your odorless mineral spirits. We'll basically turn that into that. So There you go. That is the difference between the two of those. Do I like impressive art or realistic art? Why? I think that's supposed to, I think it auto-corrected for you, probably impressionistic. I like them both. I think they're both beautiful. I personally prefer to paint more realistic and photorealistic. That's just where I'm drawn to, no pun intended, but I caught myself. Anyway, that is just what my preference is. But Impressionism and that looser style can also be absolutely stunning. I don't know if some of you remember Alana. She used to be with us on the live streams a lot. She has been posting, she's been taking a class or lessons from somebody who has you loosen up the style. These flowers that she painted are phenomenal. Like, there is just an entire skill to doing really good impressionistic or more painterly looser style. It's not as easy as a lot of people think it is, and man, are hers good. But like this first one that she did, whoever her teacher is great at like, she got some amazing work out of Alana, that's for sure. And I mean, Alana's amazing anyway, but it is amazing. So for me personally, I prefer realism, but I also absolutely respect and enjoy looking at it more a looser style, a more impressionistic style. Let's see. Does Inktense take water? Not well. It is like a sponge. If I used water, let's say I was doing something with charcoal, it would be very, very little and I would dry it right away so it doesn't warp. So, I mean, can it take it? Kind of, but I would sure not do it. Like, that would not be my choice for a water-based medium. Like, let's say, sorry, itchy nose. Here come the allergies. Next, my throat will start on itching. But I wouldn't use, let's say, water-soluble graphite, charcoal if I was going to be using a lot of water, anything like that. Anything with a lot of water, this would not be my go-to paper. Let's see. As you said, I like using water with charcoal to make some parts look like paint. A colored background could look cool, but I'm not sure Inktense takes water. It can. I would recommend do a small test and see if you like the results you get. But it is like, it warps really crazy. It stretches weird. Like, it just behaves kind of weird with water. Can you do it? Yes. Would I? No, I would probably go with something else. But because you said you wanted to go with charcoal, like you said, and you're trying to do a different background, play with it. I just wouldn't use a lot of water, that's for sure. Yes, if you're going to be in the Dallas, Texas, what? Let's try that in English. If you're going to be in the Dallas, Texas area on May 20th to 21st, I have to look it up because I can't remember, I will be at Aquashella. If you get tickets and want to come hang out there, it's a really cool event with tons of freshwater, saltwater aquariums. They have reptiles, they've got plants, they've got a lot of art. There's at least, I know there's me, there's Elaine, there's Nori. I'm trying to think of a few other, I forget the other girl's name. She's always there, Sam Scales, so there's 5. There's usually, I'd say maybe, that's the 5 I can think of, but there's usually closer to 10 artists, different artists doing work there, so it's fun to walk around. If you want to come chat with me, hang out while I'm sitting there trying to sell prints, this would also be the only place you can get giclées from me, because it's the only place I sell them, is once a year at the Aquashella show, so that's my highest quality print. So that is going to be on May 20th and 21st in Dallas, Texas. Go to aquashella.com and you can get tickets there. Let's see. Yeah, mashed potato, whose name I still love, is a large pair of pliers would work well with stuck caps. Yeah. Oh, they may not be in here anymore. I had a huge pair of flat pliers for that reason. Did not work. So this is one of those lids that you have to push down and turn at the same time. Or is it just spinning in place? I don't know why that opened. I have been trying to get this open for years. Like, every time I go to paint, I'm like, well, maybe today I can get it open. Maybe I'll be extra strong. What in the world? Let's peel the stuff that's making that stick off there now. Like, I don't know what kind of weird juju you just sent my way, but send more. Oh my gosh. Like, you don't understand. This is a perfectly good bottle, and it drove me crazy. I couldn't bring myself to buy more, even though I wanted it, because I'm like, I've got a full bottle. I just can't get it open. I don't know if that's enough. I'll probably sit here with a razor blade and peel more of this out. Actually, it's coming off pretty easy. Why did it come off this time? Was it like the perfect temperature today, or it is kind of warm in here? Maybe that has something to do with it. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I know that no one really cares, but you don't understand how long I have tried to get this lid off. And the pliers didn't work because you had to push down and turn at the same time. I take this into the kitchen. I've done this on the floor and I'm pushing hard and don't get stuck again. Hopefully I peeled off enough that it'll be okay. So the next time I oil paint. Now I want to oil paint because I can actually use my liquid fine detail. You don't need it, but I like it. Let's see. Yeah, Art of Raven D said I miss Arch's paper. She's vegan, so that's why. So if you're like, what happened to Arch's? Oh no, it's still there. Let's see. Yeah, you're right. I didn't push down hard enough. No, but I have hurt my hand. I've put on, it's easier if you wear rubber gloves sometimes to get, like dish gloves, to get things open. I've used those little grippy things. Nothing would get, like years. Like I know how to open these things. I'm the one who my students always had to open theirs because there's, a little bit of a trick to get. That one has been stuck for years. Wow. Made a liar out of me, but yes, Jen said we're magic. I think so. I'm weirdly excited right now. Like, wow, that's super made my, like, I feel like my face is hot right now because I'm so excited that this is, I need to get out more. That shouldn't make me that excited. And Mashed Potato says, ta-da! Yeah, exactly. Lay down. I wasn't inviting you guys. Now they're just thinking if I sound happy, they get something. Not how it, look at those bad dogs. Or bad cow. Oh, you can't even see his head. He's just hanging off the edge looking at me. Such bad, very, very, oh, you're going to sigh now. Seriously? Takes a deep, he's like, his face is off camera, but I'll give you something at the end. Yeah, Art of Raven D said it wanted to say hello to us. Let's see, Dolphin Soul said, we love being a part of your celebrating, no matter how big or small. Yes, Nick, as he said, not too late if you want to place your bid on tonight's artwork. And just if you want me to mat it, I wish I knew where it was so you could see how pretty it looks with the black mat around this sets it off. But I don't know where, I always have my sample one in here and this is what happens when I clean or organize. I move something and because I think I'm like, and I make it worse. Let's see. Horsewoman 2000 said, I had a bottle of Winsor & Newton like that took me forever to open. Did it take years? Because that was what just happened to me. Like I don't think I've been able to open that since I've moved here, and I moved here at the end of 2019. It's been that long. Yeah, Nick said it's the small victories in life. Joseph said, now that the bottle is open, just remember that you only get 3 wishes and there's always a catch. No. I'm actually like, is it going to open again? Yeah, it's twisting. I think I got enough of the gunk that was keeping it stuck in place. Oh, happy day. That has been bugging me, like knowing that I had a full bottle that I just couldn't get open. Dolphin Soul said, did you remember to reach out to Derwin? I did not. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, do I care about more colors with Inktense? I don't know if I do, because I mix them. That's the thing that's so cool about Inktense is that I can just mix the colors the colors that the new ones, I can mix them so easily that I'm like, do I want to bug them over this? I mean, I guess I could, but no, I have not contacted them yet. Nick said, let's see the oranges. Okay. Make sure there's no dust on that. Let me move this, and I will grab the oranges for you. I'm really excited. So I did not actually get oranges done this week, like much work. I drew for a few minutes, and my eyes from being sick the week before were still really burning. I just was like, I am not up just yet to working on the oranges. So you'll see how I got barely anywhere on this. Okay. So there is where I am with the oranges. I started layering in the rind, but that's not even done yet at all. Not even close. But I was having a hard time judging my values because I had so much of the white of the paper. So I started moving here so I could work my way around. But my goal is to have this done by next week. So that'll be next week's Patreon lesson is the part 3 to this. But this part here should actually go pretty fast. I don't think that's going to take terribly long. This is really going to be my main, because it's got so much detail I need to do there. That'll certainly take longer than everything else. But yeah, I'm really, really happy with how this has come out. It's been such a fun piece. But getting sick just got in the way of me actually getting an appropriate amount of work done. So that is that is why that isn't done yet, because it should have been done this week. And then I couldn't record the voiceover last week because I sounded like a frog on my recording day. It was like, there's no way. I was just coughing so much. It was just not happening. So yeah. Deborah said, now that you got the bottle open, what would you prefer to use the liquid fine details for? So anything, let's say this was an oil painting. We'll use that as an example. These little lines in here, tiny little details, hands down, liquid fine detail. The little dots in here, liquid fine detail. This I would use liquid original for the bigger areas. And I know this is colored pencil, but that would be like, if it was an oil painting, those are the types of things. This would be liquid original. It's really in here. The base on this, I would do with liquid original, but then when I get into the detail, I would switch to fine detail there, and then on the branch, and then back down here would be back to liquid original. So you could use one for just one part, or like I could do the whole thing with just liquid original. I don't have to have fine detail, but the fine detail is really nice. When you get to that those teeny little areas, it makes the paint super, super thin, so that when you're working with the liner brush, your line can be super, super thin. The thinner the paint is, the thinner that line can get in that case. So good question. Persephone said, thank you for the lives, love them. Thank you. Dolphin Soul said, wow, that's incredible seeing it transform. Thank you. Let's see, we've got 4 more minutes till the auction is over, and we will wrap this up. Do you have any requests for next week? Medium, or I don't know. I'm going to order the palette knives probably tonight or tomorrow, so I don't know how long that'll take to get here. I need some other materials. I will also be doing the palette knife piece. I will be using my Liquitex Heavy Body, not my regular basics. Now, you can use your basics. That's the thing, or you could use oils for this too. Working with a palette knife works best with thicker paint. The main reason I don't want to use my oil paints is they're freaking expensive, and palette knife uses a lot of paint. I'm gonna go with the Liquitex basic. The other thing is, I wouldn't be able to auction it if I used oils, because that could take months and months and months to dry when you put it on that thick with a palette knife. So by going with the Liquitex Heavy Body, they're archival still, but they will, they'll dry a lot faster. They'll dry slow, but they will dry a lot faster. And I'm gonna have to check. I may have to get a different canvas for that project, because ideally you want a canvas that has a bit more tooth to it. I'm trying to think what I have here. I think I have some cool canvases. I would have to charge more for an auction though, because I have to use a more expensive canvas. My watercolor canvas board would be way too smooth for palette knife. That is not enough to grip on. So that's actually a good thing to talk about real quick. When normally when I do paintings, let's say something like the oranges, something with tons of fine detail, tons of smooth blending, I want as smooth of a canvas as I can get. But when you're going with the palette knife, then that is the time you want the really rough, heavy duck canvas, that really bumpy, something for that paint to super grip to, because the paint is heavy. That paint is going, like if your canvas is too smooth, it doesn't stick well enough. So like long term, there could be an issue there. So something, you guys want Inktense. Now this was one of the things, let me know what you think. So normally I do the auction for during the stream. I've got a couple options with Inktense, and I can do Inktense since enough of you asked, we can certainly do that. A flamingo in Inktense maybe, yeah, that could be a possibility. Alice said a flamingo. Let me know if you guys have a dolphin next week, maybe a dolphin tail in Inktense. That's a possibility. Keep those votes coming in, and I'll see it'll really depend on, let me know what you want. I'm not ignoring it. If I don't choose what you wanted, it's not because I'm ignoring you. It's because I've got to find the right reference photo to work that I can get it done quickly. So that's what it comes down to. But what do you guys think about, normally with Inktense, I don't sell them because they're not light fast. Now, anything I've done in Inktense, none of them have faded that have been framed. I do recommend framing them behind UV glass. I normally auction stuff, but I don't sell Inktense because they're not light fast. However, during a live stream, you guys know you're not bidding on something that is going to last for 50 to 100 years. You're bidding on something, the Inktense is not going to last quite as long, but the price is also very low. Do I auction that? Or do I see if I've got an alternative painting that I could auction during the Inktense part with the dolphin tail or whatever we choose? Oh, yeah, dolphin. So we'll keep saying dolphin, dolphin, dolphin. Tiger's a little bit too much for a live stream. That takes way too long. Tail, fluke splash, be beautiful. Yeah, I think I can do, the dolphin would be an easy way for me to go with Inktense quickly. But let me know. Normally, I don't sell my Inktense work, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to get 20 years of enjoyment out of them. I don't know how long those are, like, I don't know what those light fast ratings are on those blocks. So that would just be something, if you bid on it, that's something you need to know, but you know, going into it. Yeah, you're saying go ahead and auction. Whole dolphin, I don't know if I can get a whole dolphin done in, it would have to be like a silhouette in the background. It would have to be very basic to make that work. So I will have to see what reference photo. So dolphin and Inktense, we've narrowed it down to that. Sonic the Hedgehog, hi Queen, hello. But I like it, dolphin and Inktense. I will just make sure during the auction then that you know, I don't know how light fast these are. I don't know how long it'll last. I recommend, and I would spray it with a UV spray before I send it, so that helps increase the longevity of it. And I always recommend frame it behind a UV protecting glass when using Inktense. I have, if you remember the red panda I did years ago, that one's still been hanging, and it actually was getting a lot of light. Like, it was a very bright room and it never faded. So it's not like Inktense, you've got 5 years and it's gone. It depends, but mine was behind UV glass, so that helped. So I will just make sure you guys know. One of my frogs, that would be a good one too. So yeah, you said, Dolphin Soul said, we're bidding knowing those terms. So okay, we'll go ahead and do that. So next week, we will be doing a dolphin and Inktense. If you do watercolor, whatever medium you want, you can follow along in that as well. Sonic the Hedgehog said, do I need like a body of work before approaching a gallery? Yes. They're not going to take you serious otherwise. If so, how many? 10 paintings minimum? Okay, that's actually a really good question. So let's go over that really quick. I know we're already done, but I like this question. So it depends on the gallery. Are you going to a gallery that features professional artists? They're not going to talk to you with 10 paintings. You better have like 100 under your belt if you're going to approach a professional gallery. However, there are galleries that cater to amateurs and people who let's be realistic, there are people who never plan on getting good, that are just like doing the whole, like we talked about at the beginning of the video, just embrace your natural talent, AKA don't learn the skills, don't take classes, you just slop some paint on the canvas and that's as good as you plan on ever getting. There are galleries who cater to those. You could approach them. The thing I don't like about those, I mean, yeah, get your foot in the door of, look, I had a gallery, you know, my work in a gallery. I know I don't take them seriously. I don't take work that's displayed in them seriously. I will not personally display my work in a gallery. I did it once and I was shocked because it was a professional gallery, but they started catering to amateurs. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to waste my time displaying something that I have put 20 years learning how to do next to somebody who it looks like they painted it with their knees and then sat on it and art. That's not I just spit because I'm a classy lady. That's not where I want my work displayed next to. That's not, I've worked too hard for that to be, that is me having a big head. That is me being all, look at me, Miss Prissy, that my work's too good for that. But realistically, that's how most professional artists view it. The gallery that I was telling you about that started catering and bringing in, because they wanted to encourage younger, newer artists, which I can respect, but all of the professional artists were like, yeah, well, I'm out. Like, you're making, my work doesn't feel as professional because it's being displayed next to something somebody just sat on and then taped newspaper to and then called it art. Not kidding on that one. Actually, that was the gallery curator's son. So that was a whole other thing. But adult son. Those are just things to consider. The galleries who are going to be okay with that, you've only got a work of 10 paintings, they're not like your dream gallery to get into. The bigger galleries, you better have 100 paintings. And that's one of the things, actually, there was a gallery that used to tell people that. Come back and talk to me when you've done 100 paintings. They're not telling you, when a gallery turns you down, they're not saying you'll never be good enough. They're saying you're not good enough yet. And that's the thing with art. We're always going to get better. We're always going to progress. The other thing you have to keep in mind when it comes to galleries is, do they even sell work? Oh, it's raining loud. Raining loud. Grammar is not why we're here. But do they sell work that is comparable to yours? So let's say there's a gallery locally and they sell a lot of, they're really good with abstract, impressionism. Those seem to do real well there. Farmhouse type style, or like cows. Like, you live in an area and cows are super popular. Well, they are not going to be able to sell my dolphins. my dolphins don't fit in, that's not the clientele they've built. So I can't be mad at them that they don't want my dolphins. And that's what you want to keep in mind when you're looking at galleries. I see a lot of artists they're very irrational about the fact that they think a gallery should just love their work and drop everything to try to get their work in. The gallery knows what they can sell. Now, on the flip side, as artists, we don't need galleries anymore. We can do it on our own. I built my own website. I sell my work myself. Now, on a bigger piece, through a gallery is going to be easier. It is very hard to sell something very big. It's hard to ship it. There's just so many problems with big. Big paintings are easier to sell when someone has seen the impact it has in person. But seeing a photo online, it's not as impressive as seeing it in person, so they're harder to get that sale of something large. But you know, there are pros and cons to everything. But just a few things to keep in mind. No, I do not think 10 is enough at all. That if you shoot for 100, and I mean, that may sound like an unrealistic goal, but you think with me, I can't even count how many thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of paintings I have completed in my profession. So like since I became a professional, not just, you know, as a kid or whatever, but you're going to create so much artwork. So when you first hear, a lot of people hear 100 paintings. Oh my gosh, I'm never going to do that. Depends on the gallery you're trying to get into, because the gallery that accepts artwork that was painted with your knees and then you sat on it, that is not the same gallery as the gallery whose work is going, like they sell it for a lot and it's with other respectable, you know, very skilled, very artists who have created a name for themselves. And that's something too. These are galleries, they typically want an artist who does have a bit of a name for themselves, because your customers are then going to come into their gallery. They are looking for that. A lot of times, if they bring in an artist that no one knows the name of, your name matters in whether or not they get that sale. So like, that is a big deal when it comes to art. So building a name for yourself, that's why you needed those hundreds of paintings, so that you started to build that name for yourself. That's going to be more attractive to the gallery as well. So just a few tips there. Next week, we will be doing a dolphin in Inktense. I'm looking forward to it. I've not painted in Inktense in way too long, so that will be fun. I'm going to be using both blocks and pencils for that. I will be working on Arch's 140-pound watercolor paper that I am going to stretch this time. Like, I need to get that done this weekend. So thank you guys for joining. Thank you so much to our moderators. Their channels are listed in the video description. They all have art channels here. Although Nick, we've got to get him to make some stuff, because beautiful work, hasn't been drawing or uploading lately. He hates editing. But Joseph has live streams every week. Definitely check those out. Clark Fine Art, also great content. Check out their channels. Links are in the video description. And is that it? I think it is it. I don't know. Are we done? I think we're done. Thank you guys, and I will see you next week.
Hey, you. Yes, you. I see all your unused art supplies over there. Oh my god, those brushes aren't even opened yet. Tragic. You keep buying new fancy materials, but you don't use them because you don't want to waste them. Stop making your art supplies sad. Sign up for art lessons for as little as $4 a month. There are over 300 painting and drawing lessons available when you sign up, and new ones every week. Patreon.com/Lachri.